Welcome to Abba Memorabile from Time Beyond Memory. I'm Drake,
And I'm Holly, where ancient wisdom meets modern minds.
brought to you by the most ancient anamnetic order of Trikala, for seekers everywhere, whether you're walking with us or simply curious about the path.
Each episode, we explore the hidden patterns that connect philosophy, consciousness, and human transformation.
Drawing from traditions east and west, old and new, familiar and forgotten.
Because some truths exist outside of time, waiting to be remembered, not learned.
On this episode, we're exploring an ancient Chinese secret that sounds impossible to our modern minds. How to accomplish everything by doing nothing. Why water defeats rock every time, and how the art of not forcing might be the most powerful force in the universe.
Drake, I watched something extraordinary this week. There was this massive boulder blocking a stream near my walking path. The water didn't fight it, didn't try to smash through, it just flowed around it.
And let me guess, given enough time, that water will wear the boulder down to nothing.
That's exactly it. The softest thing in the universe overcomes the hardest. It's pure physics, but it feels like magic. And it's exactly what Laozi was pointing to with Wu Wei.
Wu Wei, usually translated as non-action or effortless action. But those translations don't quite capture it. It's not about doing nothing. It's about not forcing.
Chapter 8 of the Tao Te Ching says, "The highest good is like water. Water benefits all things and does not compete. It dwells in places that people disdain, and so is near to the Tao."
Water doesn't compete, yet it wins every competition. It doesn't force, yet nothing can resist it. It takes the lowest place, yet it nourishes everything above it.
It's the complete opposite of how we're taught to succeed. We're told to push harder, grind more, force our way through obstacles. But Wu Wei says stop pushing and start flowing.
You know, there's a story from ancient China that captures this perfectly. A young martial artist approached a Daoist master, desperate to learn the secret of invincibility. The master led him to a stream and pointed at a reed growing by the water's edge.
Let me guess, the reed bends but doesn't break.
Exactly. The master said, "In winter, the mighty oak stands rigid against the snow until its branches snap under the weight. But the reed bows to the ground and springs back when the snow melts. Which would you rather be?"
That's the thing about rigidity. It feels like strength until it meets a force it can't resist. Then it shatters. But flexibility, yielding, that's sustainable strength.
The ancient Taoists watched nature constantly. They saw how water always wins, not through hardness, but through softness. How the flexible outlasts the rigid. How emptiness makes things useful.
That last one always gets me. The emptiness making things useful.
Think about it. What makes a cup useful? The empty space that holds liquid. What makes a room useful? The empty space you can inhabit. What makes a wheel useful? The empty hole where the axle goes.
So Wu Wei is about creating useful emptiness, space for things to happen naturally.
In a way, yes. It's about not filling every space with effort, not cramming every moment with doing, leaving room for emergence, for natural unfolding. Chapter 48 puts it even more paradoxically. In pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In pursuit of wisdom, every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things, until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone.
When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. That line breaks my Western mind every time.
Because we equate doing with achieving. But think about your own experience. When do you perform best? When you're forcing and straining? Or when you're in flow?
Oh, flow states. Csikszentmihalyi's research on this is fascinating. When people are performing at their peak, athletes, artists, surgeons, they report a sense of effortlessness. The action happens through them, not from them.
They're not doing, they're being done. The basketball player doesn't think about shooting, the shot happens. The pianist doesn't play the music plays itself.
And trying harder actually makes it worse. The moment you start forcing, you fall out of flow. It's like trying to fall asleep. The harder you try, the more awake you become.
Alan Watts had a beautiful way of explaining this. He said it's like trying to bite your own teeth or kiss your own lips. The very effort prevents the achievement.
Or Like trying to smooth water with your hand, the more you try to flatten it, the more waves you create. But if you just wait, it settles into perfect stillness by itself.
That's a perfect metaphor for the mind, actually. We try to force our thoughts to be calm, which just creates more mental turbulence. But if we stop interfering, the mind naturally settles.
This is why meditation instructions often say just sit or just breathe, not control your breath or stop your thoughts. Just be with what is, and transformation happens by itself.
The Zen tradition has a phrase: sitting quietly, doing nothing, spring comes, and the grass grows by itself.
There's such trust in that. Trust that spring will come. Trust that grass knows how to grow. Trust that you don't have to micromanage the universe.
But that trust is exactly what we've lost in modern life. We think if we're not constantly doing, pushing, forcing, then nothing will happen. We've forgotten that seeds grow in darkness, that butterflies form in stillness, that insights arise in silence.
This shows up in martial arts beautifully. Aikido is built entirely on Wu Wei principles.
The founder, Morihei Ueshiba, said, "The way of the warrior is to stop trouble before it starts, not by being stronger, but by not being there to hit."
When someone attacks, you don't resist their force. You blend with it, redirect it. Their own aggression becomes their defeat. You win by not fighting.
It's like psychological judo. Someone comes at you with anger, and instead of meeting force with force, you sidestep. You don't engage with the energy. You let it exhaust itself.
I've been practicing this in difficult conversations. When someone's being aggressive or defensive, instead of pushing back, I just receive. I make space for their energy without resisting it.
And what happens?
It's remarkable. Without resistance to push against, the aggression just dissipates. It's like they're punching air. Eventually, they tire themselves out, and actual conversation becomes possible.
There's a story about a samurai who visited a Zen master. The samurai demanded, "Teach me about heaven and hell." The master looked at him with disgust and said, "Why would I teach anything to a dirty, stupid soldier like you?"
Oh no, he didn't.
The samurai was enraged. He drew his sword, ready to strike. The master calmly said, "That is hell." The samurai froze. Understanding flooded through him. He sheathed his sword and bowed. The master said, "And that is heaven."
The master used Wu Wei perfectly. He didn't argue about concepts. He created an experience. He let the samurai's own energy teach the lesson.
No force, just skillful redirection. The samurai's anger became his teacher, his recognition became his enlightenment.
That's the thing about Wu Wei. It works with existing energy rather than against it, like sailing, where you use the wind's force rather than rowing against it.
Or like jazz improvisation. You don't force the music, you listen to what wants to emerge and help it along. You become a channel rather than a creator.
Miles Davis supposedly told his band, "Don't play what's there, play what's not there." That's pure Wu Wei, finding the spaces, the silence, the potential, and letting it express itself.
This connects to something profound in the Bhagavad Gita, karma yoga, or action without attachment to results.
Krishna tells Arjuna, "You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty."
It sounds different from Wu Wei, but it's pointing to the same truth. Act without forcing. Do without attachment. Engage fully, but hold lightly.
Both traditions are saying the problem isn't action itself, it's the forcing, the grasping, the trying to control outcomes.
It's like archery. In both Zen and Daoist traditions, the perfect shot happens when you stop trying to hit the target. You become one with the bow, the arrow, the target, and the shot shoots itself.
Eugen Herrigel wrote about this in Zen in the Art of Archery. He spent years trying to master the bow through technique and force. His master kept telling him to stop trying so hard.
And when he finally let go, when he stopped forcing, the arrow found its target naturally. Not because he aimed better, but because he stopped interfering with the natural intelligence of the act.
There's something about this in modern sports psychology too. They call it the yips, when athletes overthink and lose their natural ability. The cure isn't more practice, it's less thinking.
Tiger Woods at his peak described it perfectly. He said when he was playing his best, He wasn't thinking at all. His body knew what to do. His mind just had to get out of the way.
So the highest skill is actually no skill? The greatest technique is no technique?
Once technique is fully embodied, it disappears. Like learning to ride a bicycle, at first you have to think about balance, pedaling, steering. Eventually, you just ride. The technique becomes invisible.
And if you start thinking about how you're balancing while riding, you'll probably fall off.
Exactly. Consciousness is sometimes the enemy of competence. Wu Wei is about returning to that natural competence that exists below conscious control. Chapter 37 of the Tao Te Ching. The Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. If rulers could hold to it, all things would transform themselves.
That's the paradox of control. The more you try to control, the less control you have. But when you stop trying to control, things naturally organize themselves.
There's a fascinating study about this. They had two groups try to solve creative problems. One group was told to focus hard and find solutions. The other was told to work on it briefly, then go for a walk and not think about it.
Let me guess, the walking group had better solutions.
Significantly better. And they reported the solutions just came to them without effort. Their unconscious minds solved the problems while their conscious minds were occupied elsewhere.
That's why we get our best ideas in the shower, or just before falling asleep, or during a casual walk. When we stop forcing, the mind's natural problem-solving ability emerges.
Einstein called this combinatory play. He'd work intensely on a problem, then go sailing or play violin. The solutions would arise during these periods of non-doing.
So productivity through non-productivity, achievement through non-achievement, it's completely counterintuitive to everything we're taught.
But think about soil. The most productive soil isn't constantly worked. It needs fallow periods, rest, time to regenerate. Constant cultivation leads to depletion.
And we're the same. This obsession with constant productivity, this fear of empty time, it's actually making us less creative, less innovative, less capable.
The Sabbath tradition understood this. One day of complete rest, of non-doing. Not just for religious reasons, but because rest is part of the rhythm of creation.
Even God rested on the seventh day, according to the story. If the creator of the universe needs rest, maybe we shouldn't feel guilty about it.
Modern management theory is catching up to this. The best leaders don't micromanage. They create conditions for success and then get out of the way.
There's this concept in business called servant leadership. The leader's job isn't to force results, but to remove obstacles so natural productivity can flow.
It's Wu Wei in a suit and tie. Lead by following. Accomplish by allowing. Manage by not managing.
I read about a CEO who took this to heart. Instead of setting aggressive targets and pushing his team, he asked, "What's preventing you from doing your best work?" Then he removed those obstacles.
And let me guess, productivity soared?
Through the roof. People naturally want to do good work. You don't have to force them, you just have to stop preventing them.
It's like gardening. You don't make plants grow, you provide good soil, water, sunlight, and then get out of the way. The growing happens by itself.
The Daoist sage is often compared to a gardener, not forcing nature, but working with it, understanding its patterns, and aligning with them.
There's a permaculture principle. Observe and interact. Spend more time observing the natural patterns of your land than imposing designs on it. Work with nature's intelligence, not against it.
Bill Mollison, the founder of permaculture, said something profound. The problem is the solution. What seems like an obstacle often contains the key to success. If you stop fighting it and start working with it.
Like that boulder in your stream. It's not really blocking the water. It's creating eddies, pools, habitats. The problem is actually increasing the stream's diversity and resilience.
So maybe our problems aren't problems. Maybe they're invitations to find a different way, a Wu Wei way.
Rumi has this beautiful line. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. And do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come?
That's Wu Wei across cultures. This isn't just a Daoist idea. It's a universal recognition that forcing creates suffering while flowing creates ease.
But here's what's challenging about Wu Wei in our culture. It looks like laziness or passivity.
right? Try explaining to your boss that you're practicing effortless action and see how that goes.
But Wu Wei isn't passive. It's actively choosing not to force. It's the difference between a dead leaf floating downstream and a skilled kayaker reading the current.
The kayaker isn't fighting the river, they're dancing with it, using its power rather than opposing it.
That requires incredible skill and attention. You have to read the water, understand its patterns, know when to paddle and when to glide. It's active engagement without force.
Like a surfer reading waves, you can't make a wave come and you can't force yourself onto it, but when you understand the ocean's rhythm, you can ride its power.
And the best surfers describe a state where they're not riding the wave. They become part of it. The separation between surfer and ocean disappears.
That's the deepest level of Wu Wei. Not just working with natural forces, but recognizing you are a natural force. You're not separate from the Tao. You're an expression of it.
Chapter 25 says, humans follow the earth. Earth follows heaven. Heaven follows the Tao. The Tao follows what is natural.
So we're not trying to follow some external law. We're trying to return to our own nature, which is already aligned with the Tao.
It's like rivers don't try to flow downhill. That's just what water does when it's being itself. Wu Wei is about being so authentically yourself that right action happens naturally. Zhuangzi has this story about Cook Ding, who butchers an ox with such skill that his knife never dulls. He doesn't cut through the joints, he finds the natural spaces between them.
There are spaces between the joints, and the blade of the knife has no thickness. That which has no thickness entering where there is space. There's plenty of room for the blade to move.
He's not forcing the knife through bone, he's finding where the knife naturally wants to go. It's precision through sensitivity, not force.
This is how master craftspeople work. They don't impose their will on the material. They discover what the material wants to become.
The sculptor Michelangelo said he didn't create David, he just removed everything that wasn't David. The statue was already in the marble, he just had to not interfere with it.
That's such a different relationship with creation. Not imposing, but revealing. Not making, but discovering. Not forcing, but allowing.
Indigenous carvers often say the same thing. They don't carve the wood. They help the spirit already in the wood to emerge. The tree tells them what it wants to become.
There's such humility in that and such partnership. You're not the master of the material. You're its collaborator.
This applies to relationships too. We try to change people, force them into our image of who they should be. But what if we approach them like that wood? Curious about who they really are, helping their true nature emerge?
Parents especially need to hear this. Your child isn't clay to be molded, but a seed with its own blueprint. Your job isn't to make them grow into your design, but to provide conditions for their own nature to flourish.
Khalil Gibran wrote, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts."
That's Wu Wei parenting, guiding without forcing, supporting without controlling, creating space for natural unfolding.
There's something our order teaches about this. The difference between the will that pushes and the will that allows.
Most of us only know the pushing will. We think achievement means overcoming resistance through force. But there's another kind of will that works by removing internal resistance.
Like those finger traps, the harder you pull, the tighter they grip. But if you relax and push your fingers together, they release naturally.
Life is full of finger traps. Problems that get worse the harder we try to solve them. Relationships that deteriorate the more we try to fix them.
Insomnia that worsens the harder we try to sleep. Creativity that disappears the moment we try to force it.
The solution isn't to try harder, but to try softer. Or, better yet, to stop trying and start allowing.
There's a therapeutic approach called paradoxical intention that uses this principle. If you can't sleep, try to stay awake. If you stutter, try to stutter more. By removing the resistance, the problem often resolves itself.
It's like quicksand. The more you struggle, the faster you sink. But if you relax, spread out, move slowly, you can float and gradually work your way out.
Life gives us so many quicksand moments. Panic makes them worse. Wu Wei gets us through. Not by doing nothing, but by doing exactly what the situation requires. No more, no less.
That reminds me of a story from Japan. A tea master was challenged to a duel by a samurai. The tea master had never held a sword, but refusing meant dishonor.
I know this one. He went to a swordmaster for help, expecting to learn techniques.
But the sword master said, "Serve me tea." The tea master did what he knew. He prepared tea with perfect presence, no hurry, no fear, just complete attention to the moment.
The swordmaster said, "That's how you should face the samurai. Hold the sword like you hold the tea whisk. Face death like you face the tea ceremony, with complete presence and no resistance."
When the duel came, the tea master did exactly that. He stood with such calm presence, such lack of fear or aggression, that the samurai lowered his sword and apologized.
He won by not trying to win. His Wu Wei was so perfect, it dissolved the conflict entirely.
That's the ultimate martial art, ending the fight before it begins. Not through intimidation, but through presence so complete, it transforms the situation.
You know what's interesting? Modern physics describes the universe in very Wu Wei terms. Forces don't really push and pull, they're exchanges of information that allow things to happen.
And at the quantum level, observation itself changes outcomes. The universe responds to attention, not force.
It's like reality itself operates on Wu Wei principles. The path of least resistance isn't lazy, it's how nature actually works.
Lightning follows the path of least resistance, and look at its power. It's not weak, it's efficiently following natural law.
Rivers don't flow downhill because they're lazy. They flow downhill because that's the natural path for water. And look what rivers accomplish just by following their nature.
The Grand Canyon, carved by water doing nothing but being itself.
The Colorado River didn't set out to create a wonder of the world. It just flowed, day after day, year after year, following its nature. And that patient non-forcing carved through miles of solid rock.
That's the deeper teaching of Wu Wei. It's not about doing nothing. It's about doing what's natural to you with such alignment that it feels like nothing.
When you're aligned with your nature, effort becomes effortless. Work becomes play. Doing becomes being.
I've experienced this in writing. When I try to force words, it's agony. But when I get out of the way and let the words flow through me, hours pass like minutes.
That's why they call it a flow state. You're not creating the flow, you're joining it. The river was already there, you just stepped into it.
And once you're in that flow, you have access to intelligence and creativity beyond your normal capacity. It's like plugging into a larger mind.
The Daoists would say you're plugging into the Tao itself. The intelligence that runs the universe is flowing through you. Drake. But how do you find that alignment? How do you know when you're forcing versus flowing?
The body knows. When you're forcing, there's tension, resistance, exhaustion. When you're in Wu Wei, there's ease, even in difficulty.
It's the difference between swimming upstream and swimming downstream. Both require action, but one depletes you while the other energizes you.
I've started paying attention to this in daily tasks. Washing dishes can be a struggle, forcing myself through a chore, or it can be a meditation. Warm water, smooth movements, present moment awareness.
Same action, completely different experience. The difference is whether you're forcing or flowing.
And paradoxically, the dishes get cleaner when I'm not forcing. When I'm present and flowing, I notice spots I would have missed while rushing.
That's because forcing creates a kind of blindness. We're so focused on getting through something that we don't actually see it. Wu Wei brings clarity because there's no agenda clouding our perception.
It's like the difference between looking for something and just looking. When you're searching desperately for your keys, you often look right at them without seeing them.
But when you stop forcing, stop searching, just look. Suddenly there they are, in plain sight.
This happens in problem solving all the time. You bang your head against a problem for hours, then give up and go for a walk. And suddenly the solution appears, obvious as daylight.
Because you stopped forcing your mind down predetermined paths. You allowed it to explore freely, and it found its own way to the answer. Chapter 15 of the Tao Te Ching describes the ancient masters. Careful, like crossing a frozen river. Alert, like facing danger on all sides. Courteous, like a visiting guest. Yielding, like ice beginning to melt.
They're intensely present but not forcing, alert but not tense, engaged but not attached.
It's like a cat watching a mouse hole. Total attention, total readiness, but no unnecessary tension. The pounce will happen when it happens, not a moment before or after.
That quality of relaxed readiness. We're usually either tense and ready or relaxed and checked out. But Wu Wei is this third state, fully present but not forcing.
Musicians know this state. You have to be completely prepared. Know your instrument, know the music. But in performance, you have to let go of all that preparation and just play.
Jazz great Charlie Parker said, master your instrument, master the music, and then forget all that and just play.
That's the journey of Wu Wei. First, you learn. Then you practice. Then you embody. And finally, you forget and just flow.
It's like learning a language. First, you memorize rules and vocabulary. Then you practice conversations. Eventually, you stop translating and just speak. The language flows through you without effort.
And trying to speak perfectly actually makes you speak worse. The effort creates hesitation, blocks natural expression.
This is why children learn languages so easily. They don't try, they just absorb and express. Pure Wu Wei.
There's something about timing in Wu Wei too. It's not just about not forcing, it's about acting at the right moment.
Like catching a wave. You can't force the wave to come, and you can't force yourself onto it. But when the moment is right, one small movement puts you in perfect position.
The Chinese concept of kairos, the opportune moment. There's a time for everything, and wisdom is recognizing when that time arrives.
In the order, they talk about ripeness. When an action is ripe, it happens almost by itself. When it's not ripe, no amount of forcing will make it work.
It's like fruit falling from a tree. When it's ripe, the slightest touch releases it. When it's not, you have to tear it off, and it's bitter anyway.
So much of our frustration comes from trying to harvest unripe fruit, forcing outcomes before their time, pushing rivers that are meant to meander.
There's wisdom in waiting. Not passive waiting, but attentive waiting. Watching for the right moment, feeling for ripeness.
Like a good comedian, the same joke can bomb or kill depending on timing. It's not what you say, but when you say it.
And you can't calculate perfect timing. You have to feel it. It's an intuitive recognition, not an intellectual calculation.
This is where Wu Wei requires deep trust in your instincts. That part of you that knows without knowing how it knows.
The part that tells you when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait, when to hold on and when to let go.
We all have this intuitive wisdom, but we've learned not to trust it. We override it with logic, with shoulds, with forcing.
Wu Wei is partly about recovering that trust, learning to feel the currents again, to sense the rhythms, to know when the moment is ripe. But let's be practical. We live in a world of deadlines, targets, expectations. How do you practice Wu Wei when your boss wants results yesterday?
I think it starts with internal Wu Wei. You can't control external demands, but you can control how you meet them.
Instead of resistance and resentment, acceptance and flow, the deadline is the deadline. Fighting it only adds suffering without changing anything.
It's like that Stoic teaching: control what you can control, accept what you can't. But Wu Wei adds another dimension: work with what you can't control.
Use the current even if you didn't choose its direction. Find the grain even in difficult wood. Discover the spaces even in solid problems.
And sometimes, paradoxically, not forcing actually gets you there faster. When you stop wasting energy on resistance, all that energy becomes available for action.
I knew a programmer who practiced this. When faced with impossible deadlines, instead of panicking, he'd take 10 minutes to meditate. His colleagues thought he was crazy.
But I bet he met his deadlines.
Not only met them, but often beat them. He said those 10 minutes of non-doing saved hours of forced, inefficient doing. He'd return to work with clarity and find elegant solutions instead of brute force approaches.
It's like sharpening the axe before cutting wood. The time spent not cutting makes the actual cutting effortless.
Abraham Lincoln supposedly said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe."
That's Wu Wei planning. Most of the work is preparation, creating conditions for effortless execution.
Like a samurai spending hours maintaining his sword so that when he needs to use it, one perfect cut is enough.
Or a chef spending most of the time prepping ingredients so the actual cooking flows smoothly.
The doing becomes easy when the not doing is done right. The Tao Te Ching says, "Nothing in the world is softer than water, yet for overcoming the hard and strong, nothing surpasses it."
Water doesn't waste energy resenting the rocks in its path, it just finds a way around, over, or through, and eventually the rocks become sand.
There's a persistence in water that we miss. We think persistence means forcing, pushing harder. But water persists through patience, through constancy, through never giving up, but also never forcing.
Dropping water can carve through stone, not through force, but through patient repetition. 10,000 drops, each one soft, together creating transformation.
That's how habits work too. You don't force yourself to change all at once. You make tiny adjustments, repeated daily, and over time, you're transformed.
James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits. 1% better each day. Not forcing dramatic change, but allowing gradual evolution.
It's Wu Wei applied to personal development. Instead of forcing yourself to be different, you create conditions where change happens naturally.
Like putting your running shoes by your bed. You're not forcing yourself to run. You're just making it easier to run than not to run.
Removing obstacles rather than adding force. That's practical Wu Wei. You know what strikes me? Wu Wei might be more relevant now than ever. We live in a forcing world. Forced positivity, forced productivity, forced connection through social media.
Everything is optimized, hacked, maximized. We've forgotten how to let things be, let alone let them become.
But you can't force genuine connection. You can't hack real creativity. You can't optimize your way to wisdom.
These things arise naturally when conditions are right. Like flowers blooming. You can't force a flower open, but you can create conditions where opening is natural.
The tragedy is we're trying to force everything. Force ourselves to be happy. Force others to understand us. Force life to meet our expectations.
And it's exhausting. This epidemic of burnout, anxiety, depression, could it be from too much forcing?
The Daoists would say yes. We're living against the Tao, against the natural way. We're salmon trying to swim up a waterfall instead of finding the fish ladder.
Or we're trying to push the river instead of building a boat.
Maybe that's what our forcing world needs most. People who remember how to not force, who can model a different way of being effective.
Leaders who lead like water, finding the path of least resistance that's also the path of maximum impact.
Parents who guide without pushing. Teachers who educate by drawing out rather than putting in. Artists who let the art flow through them.
It's a quiet revolution, no force, no fighting, just people remembering how to flow and teaching others through their example.
You know what I love about this? Wu Wei can't be forced on anyone. You can't make someone practice non-forcing. It has to be discovered, chosen, embodied.
It spreads like water too, not through pressure, but through finding the spaces, the openings, the people ready to receive it.
One person practicing Wu Wei in an office changes the entire dynamic. Their calm becomes contagious. Their effectiveness without stress makes others curious.
How do you stay so calm? They ask. And the answer isn't a technique or a method, it's a way of being.
There's one more aspect of Wu Wei I find profound. It requires deep trust.
Trust in what?
In the intelligence of life itself. When you stop forcing, you're trusting that things know how to unfold. That there's an order, a pattern, a wisdom bigger than your planning mind.
The Tao, the way things naturally want to go.
Exactly. Wu Wei is ultimately an act of faith. Faith that the universe isn't chaos requiring our constant control, but cosmos with its own intelligence.
And when you align with that intelligence, you don't have to push the river. You become the river.
Action happens through you, not from you. You become an instrument of the Tao rather than an ego trying to impose its will.
Which brings us full circle to water. Water has no ego, no agenda. It just follows its nature perfectly. And look what it accomplishes.
Oceans, rivers, rain that nourishes all life. The circulation that keeps the planet alive. All through perfect Wu Wei. Effortless action in harmony with natural law.
Water never doubts its path. It doesn't second guess whether it should flow downhill. It just follows its nature with complete trust.
And because it trusts so completely, it can be both powerful and gentle. It can carry ships and carve canyons. It can be mist or tsunami, all expressions of the same essential nature.
We have that same range when we practice Wu Wei. We can be gentle when gentleness is needed, powerful when power is called for. Not because we decide to be, but because the situation draws it out of us.
Like music responding to the acoustics of a room. The same piece sounds different in different spaces, not because the musician forces it, but because they allow the music to find its natural expression.
That's mastery, isn't it? Not imposing your will on situations, but allowing situations to draw out your appropriate response.
The Tao Te Ching says the sage is like water, benefiting all things and competing with none, taking the low place that others disdain, and through this humility, achieving what force never could.
Maybe that's the invitation. Not to do nothing, but to do everything the way water does, naturally, effortlessly, in alignment with the way things want to flow.
To stop pushing the river and discover we are the river.
To stop forcing life and start flowing with it.
The softest thing overcoming the hardest. Not through force, but through persistence, patience, and perfect appropriateness to each moment.
You know, as we've been talking, I've noticed something. This entire conversation has had its own wu wei. We haven't forced topics. They've emerged naturally. We haven't pushed toward conclusions. They've arrived on their own.
That's true. Ideas have been building on each other organically, like water finding its level. Even our digressions have somehow served the flow.
Maybe that's the final lesson. Wu wei isn't something you practice. It's something you allow. It's always available, always waiting for us to stop forcing long enough to notice it.
Like breath. You don't have to make yourself breathe. Breathing happens. But you can force your breath, control it, hold it, or you can let it flow naturally.
And when you let it flow naturally, it knows exactly what to do. Fast when you need energy, slow when you need calm. Perfect responsiveness without conscious control.
That's the miracle of Wu Wei. Life knows how to live itself. We just have to get out of the way.
Or better yet, we have to remember that we are life living itself. The separation between us and the flow is the illusion.
When that illusion drops, even for a moment, everything becomes effortless. Not easy necessarily, but effortless. There's a difference.
Yes, climbing a mountain isn't easy, but if you're in flow with the climb, it can be effortless. Hard work doesn't have to be forced work.
That's what we're really talking about. Not avoiding difficulty, but moving through difficulty without resistance. Dancing with challenges rather than fighting them.
Making friends with obstacles, knowing they're teaching us something. Every rock in the stream creates new patterns, new possibilities.
Perhaps Wu Wei isn't about the absence of obstacles, but about the absence of resistance to obstacles. Flow includes the rocks. It just doesn't fight them.
It reminds me of that prayer, not asking for lighter burdens, but for stronger backs. Wu Wei might say, don't ask for fewer obstacles, ask for better flow.
Or don't ask at all. Just flow with what is, trusting that what is exactly what needs to be for your evolution.
That's radical acceptance combined with dynamic engagement, not passive resignation, but active participation in what's unfolding.
The Tao doesn't make mistakes. Every moment is perfectly what it is, including our resistance to it. But when we drop the resistance, we can dance with what is instead of fighting it.
And in that dance, transformation happens. Not the transformation we planned or forced, but the transformation that was waiting to emerge.
Like the butterfly in the chrysalis, it doesn't force its way out. It emerges when emergence is ripe. And that timing is perfect, even if it doesn't match our schedule.
Speaking of timing, I feel like we're approaching a natural ending here. Not forced, just complete.
I feel it too. The conversation wants to rest, like water finding its level.
That's Wu Wei even in ending. Knowing when enough is enough, when the point has been made, when the water has found its course.
Drake, thank you for joining us for this exploration.
Ab immemorabili, from time beyond memory.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing.
And remember, the wisdom you seek has always been within you.
You're not learning it.
You're remembering it.